We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And by our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and check them out at www.crowdplayapp.com for details. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cage My IQ. I am your host, D-Bake, joined by my co-host, Miles Long. How are you doing today, Miles?
Doing good. Just doing schoolwork, man. It's a bitch.
Exactly. Tonight we will be recapping UFC on ESPN with the main event, Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. This was quite a weak card, in my opinion, and we're going to break it down today. But when you card it, what was your first opinions of this fight card?
I actually didn't do any research going into this one. Like I said, with the minor fight cards, I don't do the research. If there's someone on the card I know, then I generally probably go for them. Yeah. But other than that, like, I just kind of walked into the card going, oh, I don't know, like hardly any of these people. but it seemed like this was not a lot of big names. This wasn't even a lot of like ranked people, like people in the top 15. This was definitely a lot of cards that if it was a pay-per-view event, all these would have been, except for the main event, would have been like undercard fights. You know what I mean? These were very minor players, but what it was is, moving people around and trying to launch certain people into that top 15 spots. I think it feels like that's what they were setting up this whole UFC fight night to do going forward based on the results.
Yeah, it was definitely a movement card, and then it was affected by COVID. The co-main event was supposed to be Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddell, and then the day of the fight it got postponed, likely to get moved to like a fight night card in April because of COVID. They didn't really say whose side it was. They just said that it was getting postponed due to COVID reasons. And then they announced for this upcoming week that Brian Ortega versus Alexander Volkanovski is getting postponed as well. Somebody on Volkanovski's side tested positive, so they're going to have to move that as well, which is a bummer. But this is what happens with COVID. Kind of expect it. That will likely get moved. I assume my first guess would be it will get moved to 262 with in May with the fight card with Chandler and Oliveira since
I think that's actually where they put it, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, I've got it right here.
Yeah, since the 261 is too stacked right now, they're not going to have 4 title fights on one card. So,
oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, so they haven't put it on the actual like UFC 262. They're building the card; it's not on there yet, but I imagine it'll probably end up there.
Yeah, but. Before we get started, I just want to announce that I had a couple interviews yesterday, and one with Smile and Sam Alvey. That will be released on April 7th, right before the fight card. Great guy. He was easy to talk to, but look out on April 7th at noon. I'll be releasing that on YouTube and then be posting it to the socials. And then I also had the pleasure of interviewing Jordan Young, who's going to be in the PFL light heavyweight tournament starting at the end of April. I got to talk to him. He's great as well. That was the second time I talked to him. We talked for about 30 minutes. I'll be releasing that on April 14th at noon, the week after Sam Alvey. So you can same thing. Go on YouTube and on the socials. They'll be up by then. That way, I'm not like throwing all these interviews at you fans all at once, spacing it out. So look for those, and then you can find all of our content on all of our socials. First, you can find us on Twitter at CageIQ. You can find us on Facebook at CageMyIQSB, and you can find us on Instagram at CageMyIQ. And then you can now also find us when we go live on Twitch at twitch.tv/CageMyIQ, or you can just go over to Last Rec Podcast, to our Twitch page, where he has it coming up when we go live as well.
Yep, we're hosting. We're hosting.
Yep, we're hosting. And then don't forget to check out the Laughs and Rec podcast on Twitch. Usually it's every Tuesday and Thursday, right?
Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, every week. Like
even
clockwork.
better. And he's on there for hours. So easily hop on, subscribe to the Laugh and Rec podcast, and then just give him a shout out.
Yo.
Yep. But to get started, we'll get started with the UFC on ESPN Recap. The first fight that we had on tap was Tai Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker, where we saw Tai Tuivasa pick up the victory to move to 12-3 and 5-3 in the UFC. This should be short, but what did you take from this?
This one, I thought this whole card was entertaining, but like in a ha funny way. You know what I mean? Like this fight felt so much like I was watching Roy Nelson, Big Country again, like from way back in the day. You remember Big Country? All he'd do, big dude, huge, massive guy, especially in the heavyweights. He'd just walk out there and he'd do his damnedest to throw that like big power cross or whatever he had that would like knock people out. But the minute that didn't work, he didn't have any other answers. You know what I mean? So like the minute a fighter could get around that, he'd just be like totally helpless. It was like watching two big countries, you know, like these guys were big guys, big power strikers, and they were just trying to stand and trade and see who got knocked out first. Like that's what this fight was. Like there was no like wrestling, no ground fighting. Nobody even expected that out of these two. You know what I mean? And I think what ended up happening here was because they had such a similar approach. They're both like big, heavy guys looking for big, heavy knockout punches. It came down to who had more experience. And you know, Tai Tuivasa, he's been in there for a lot longer than Hunsucker. This was his debut. So he just didn't have the experience of fighting at this level. So, yeah, I mean, it was an easy victory. It was just, you know, it was an easy victory, punking out, you know, an up-and-comer and just letting him know, hey, this is what the UFC is like. You can't come in here and be like a big, giant dude trying to throw a big power punch and expect to get super far. Because mind you, neither of these guys are even remotely qualified to like fight anybody in like the top 15. No. You know what I mean? Like even Olenek is at top 15. I think Olenek could beat both of these guys. And I mean, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is a super short one. They fought and Tuivasa just knocked him out. That was it.
Yeah, I watched this. It must have lasted, what is it, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, not even.
Fast. Yeah.
I think the one thing that ended it right away, other than the knockout, was that leg kick to the inner thigh. Tai kicked him really hard with the leg kick, and it just stunned Hunsucker. He basically fell down a little bit, and as he got back up, he was stumbling backwards, and then Tai Tuivasa just struck him with that nice hook and knocked him down, and then just went whirling. It was like a buddy of mine and me were on here watching the fight, and he must have been 30 seconds behind because he had like a bad feed on ESPN, and then the fight ended before the feed on his even started. And I was like, you might as well just find another feed because the fight just ended. And he was like, damn. He was like, they're just doing the announcements now. I was like, it was that fast because that guy, and like, part of it was like, I don't think the guy was ready, and he just was like, oh, I'll take this fight because it's a guaranteed money. Like I'm guaranteed a good amount of money. You know, it's taking on 3 days notice. I'm getting that exposure.
I heard he got there, like, I heard that.
But it's like, damn, like he was done before he even started. And then they interviewed. The best part was at the end. They interviewed Tai Tuivasa, and he was like, I fought in the UFC. That was like my 12th fight or something, and I had like 10 or 11 knockouts, and I'm just learning how to do MMA now. That's what he said. And I'm like, if that's you just learning MMA now, that's going to be great to watch you in the future because you have that many knockouts. You're fishing on the top 10. You're probably like, he's probably 13 or 14, just thinking off the top of my head. But he's
right now is Tom Espinal. I think Tom Espinal would take that guy apart.
He would take him apart just with the boxing. But this guy's but this guy's saying that he's just learning MMA now.
I get you.
And then he has that experience already. I guess that votes well for him going down if he's ranked that high for not knowing MMA.
Right. No, I think it was. Yeah, that's what I was saying about like the experience. He was throwing in the leg kicks. I think that was probably a new tool in his arsenal that Hunsucker didn't have. And so the minute leg kicks got into the equation, Hunsucker was like, what's happening?
And that's a good thing. Like just adding a new wrinkle. That's what they say. Like when you add in a new wrinkle, your opponent can't really like comprehend it right away because you guys are moving so fast, and then you throw something at him that he doesn't expect, and it's kind of like I call it system overload. Like you're thinking so much, unless you're like a Khabib or something where you can compartmentalize so quickly, and he wasn't able to do it. But we got a comment right here. It's our boy Jay. Ty should have stayed at AKA. He's at a new gym now.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he was in a different league. I was like, I don't know how. Like, here's the thing: Big Country, when he even in his heyday with the rules the way they were back then, he still didn't get that far from what I remember. He was never like a title contender or anything. He was just kind of floating around the bottom
5
10
to 10 range. Yeah,
5 to 10. That's what
range.
I thought. Yeah. Okay. So I
would
mean,
always get close enough to where you'd be like, okay, it's a number one contenders fight, and then he would always lose that.
Exactly. Right. I feel like that's the problem with that strategy is that you can only go so far with it, and until you have to do other stuff, because when you get that high, everybody else has all the other tools in their toolbox, and you're like, well, I got a real good hook, but that's all he's got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he comes along in the future.
And then he's saying him and Mark Hunt, the king of the walk-off KO. Yep.
I remember Mark Hunt as well. Yeah, didn't Mark Hunt wrestle though? Like, couldn't he at least wrestle a little bit?
Yeah, but he was mostly known as like a knockout artist.
Yeah, he was a big heavy puncher.
And they're both from, I believe they're both from New Zealand and both Samoan. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But moving on to the next fight on this card, since that one was only like 30 seconds. But we had a men's bantamweight matchup, which we saw Adrian Yanez defeat Gustavo Lopez by third round knockout. What did you take from this?
So this one was a more interesting fight than the last one, obviously, because it went past the 30-second mark. So, more going on. But I heard Yanez was kind of like this hot up and comer. He was a guy they were looking to see at the top one of these days. And I think he did a pretty good showing here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Gustavo Lopez has more experience within the octagon. Yanez isn't like brand new, but isn't this like his third fight? Something like that? Second in the UFC? Very new, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I would take a look.
Because that was one of the things Gustavo Lopez was saying. He was like, well, who's this guy beat? Where's all the hype? He hadn't beat anybody yet, And no, I think he did a really good show because in that first probably like minute, maybe 45 seconds of the first round, Gustavo was on a hot streak. And then it just kind of fell apart, like then Yanez pretty much took over.
This was his second UFC fight, and then his first one was the Dana White Contender Series.
Right. Yeah.
Then he debuted against Victor Rodriguez in a win, and then this fight.
Right. That last one was the head kick win, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So I mean, he's pretty good. He came off as more like patient, a little more reserved. Second fight, yeah, that's what we got to. But he came up with a lot more patient, more reserved. Definitely more of like a counter striking game in his part on the hands. But it works for him. I think as he gets more comfortable in the UFC and he kind of finds his rhythm, I think if he ups his volume a little bit, but still maintains that like counter striking mentality, it's going to go really well for him. We didn't see a lot of his grappling ability, especially against like a guy against like Gustavo Lopez, who has grappling ability. We didn't really get to see how that went. So I'm curious in his next fights down the road, whether, he's been working on his wrestling, he's been working on his jiu-jitsu. That's the big question here, because obviously he can do the hands. The hands are no problem. He just kind of picked apart Lopez, and then that third round, he finished him off like right away with that hook, which was very well placed right at the chin. But the problem is, if of course he doesn't have as well of rounded of a game, like a Peter Yan, he's gonna have some trouble. You know what I mean? Like Peter Yan's got both. Like in that Aljamain Sterling fight, that's what he was showing everybody. Is like, oh, everybody thinks I'm gonna get out grappled. Let me show you some shit real quick, And then it turns out he's actually a decent wrestler and stuff. So I'm interested to see how Yanez, not only develops his game, but kind of reveals it to us in upcoming fights that go forward after the Lopez win. But yeah, I mean, interesting fight. Interesting fight.
Yeah. I felt like he was respecting Lopez's ground game, so he wanted to keep it standing up. Because when I was watching it, like it seemed like Lopez was a little hesitant. He was moving a lot because he knew that he needed to use the speed to go in, out, in and out. But Giannis was just there. He was being patient, picking and choosing his shots. But when he hit him, it was harder. Like his shots were definitely a more significant strikes. Whereas Lopez, he would hit him, but they weren't as hard. So he had to do more of the speed game, where Giannis could do more of the one shot hurts you even more, so I can just pick and choose.
Right.
And but even then, like he was just doing that. Like he was hitting him, he was stunning him here and there. He wasn't exerting too much energy, and he didn't have to go to the ground. That was the thing too. Like he respected Lopez enough to where he didn't do it, but he didn't need to go to it at the same time. So it kind of worked out. And then by the third round, Lopez just was taking so much that he got him really good and then just finished him off. Like I was surprised it made it to the third round with some of the shots he was taking.
Right.
But it showed that it really showed his patience, which is going to be good coming down the line. When you fight those top 10 guys, you're going to need patience at certain points. But I do want to see his ground game next fight, depending on who he fights.
I was thinking like a Jimmy Rivera would be an interesting challenge for him. Like Jimmy Rivera is not like a weak puncher, but he's definitely a better grappler. He's a good grappler for sure.
Yeah, as you saw with his matchup with Pedro Munez, even with those leg kicks, he was still coming at you. So he might have to use the ground game to slow him down and then just keep on doing this. But it was a good showing by him with the patience and the striking, because every time he hit him, it was crisp. He threw it good. He connected on majority of his punches. And it's a good showing from a guy who's only in his second fight. So he has improvements to make, very small, not anything crazy, just shows your ground game, shows your versatility. Other than that, I see good things in the future for him, like down the line. And he could probably get a fight within 2 months now because he didn't take that much damage.
Oh, he's fine, that was a pretty easy fight for him.
But moving on from that, we go to the third fight of the card, which was actually my favorite one, to be honest. It was a strawweight matchup between Montserrat Conejo Reyes, who defeated Cheyenne Bays by unanimous decision. The majority of the judges had it 29-28, but I had it 30-27. What did you take from this fight?
Man, I thought this fight was hilarious. It was like the whole fight. Ruiz just used that one Harai Goshi into the scarf hold and just punched her in the face the whole time. And what was hilarious is that, no, I'm sorry, Conejo, that was her technique. I get them mixed up. But Baez, her coaches were like, "That's all she's got. That's all she's got." And it was like, well, yeah, but it's working. So. Like your fighter keeps falling for it. What else does she need? You know what I mean? So, like clockwork every time. Because if it was in the striking range, Baez was doing really well when it was like punches for punches. Her punches were a lot heavier. They were cleaner. She was clearly the better striker. But then Conejo would just go in, get into like a clinch situation, then get that arm around the head, get the arm, and then put it around her waist, and then Harai Goshi down. Oh, look, we're back in the in the scarf hold position. I'm just gonna punch you in the face for like the next 3 or 4 minutes. It was great because like Baez, she could not figure a way out of that, which is funny because the whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh, she's got to roll. Like this is like Judo 101, one of the very first things you ever learn in Judo Newaza. Got to go chest to back, pull him in real tight, get a gable grip around the stomach area, and then you roll onto your back and then roll them over. So you kind of transfer their weight over to the other side. So you end up in like a top control side control position. And the whole time she was like, all right, trying to get the legs over. Oh, that didn't work. All right, try to pull my head out. That didn't work. I was like, okay, cool. She's going to try the roll now. She didn't try the roll. She went back to the legs. She did the roll one time successfully. I think it was like in the third round towards the end somewhere. But at that point, it was way too little too late. Like that, I don't know what else to say about this. Like Conejo just controlled that fight with the one technique she was really good at. And it just goes to show you, if the other person doesn't have like any real ground fighting or wrestling ability, just something as simple as that can win you a fight, which, you got to be well-rounded. You got to be. But Baez found that out the hard way.
Yeah, and then on this card, not in the best of ways, but this was the first fight card where a married couple both made their debut with Cheyenne Baez and then her husband, I think it was JP Baez, I think it was.
Yep. And they both lost.
And they both lost in bad fashion, you would say. Yep. And then, like, I'm watching this, like, me and Jay did the preview, and then I was like looking for everything, like up until the day of the fight. I was like, I can't find any information on these two. Right. And then I was like, watch, I'm gonna go on now, like 10 minutes before we go live, and find a bunch of information, which I did. Like I already had information. I already had information, but it gave me a lot more. So I'm doing that. I'm like, watch, everybody's going for Baez. They're looking at Baez and saying she's gonna win. But all these numbers and all of this info that's coming to me right now, it's pointing towards Conejo. Mm-hmm. And she was like a plus 240. And I'm like, why are they going against her? And I'm like, watch this. I'm going with Conejo on this one. She's going to win. And then, of course, we release it. And then what's everybody doing when they're looking on our YouTube channel? Everybody's going to the Baez Conejo cut up a video that I had on there.
Right.
Everybody was looking at it. I'm like, look at that video because watch, she's going to win. And I'm going to say it on the recap show. And what happened?
How many shit posts did you have in the comments? Was everybody like, no, you're wrong?
No. But it was great because she came in, just like you said, she did that same thing. And then me and my buddy on here, still on here, we're on there for the whole fight. And my buddy goes, there goes that bulldog throw or the judo throw, and then 2 seconds later, I got Jay. I got Jay messaging me back. There's the second one. There's the third one.
She had like 6 or something crazy like that.
She would just do like the judo throw, and then she would hold on like the bulldog choke. And then at one point, like her Baez's head was like red as a cherry, and she's just going.
They're just hitting on her.
And then she's just not doing anything until the third round when she decided to move. And I'm like, where was this in round 1 when you just laid there for 4 minutes? Like,
well, she was trying. She had 2 approaches to escape, and they both kept failing, but she just alternated between them. I was like, no, you got to do something different. She was trying. What she was trying to do is get her legs over, hook one over the head, and pull her head back. And typically what this does is if you do it correctly, it can set up like an arm bar, right? It was the best part of the fight. Yeah. It can set up an arm bar situation that you can slip in there at the last minute. But the problem is if somebody doesn't want you to do it, all they have to do is kind of lean forward a little more and just clear their head, which is exactly what Conejo was doing. She would just clear the head. And then at that point, Baez was like, oh, okay, I gotta go out the back door, which basically you just shrug your head out of like the headlock situation, because usually in a scarf hold, you take your hand and you don't grab like this, you place it on the inside of your thigh. So there's just a little bit of space. So if you can time it right, you can usually just pop out the back and then you're behind them. But as soon as, she would move to do that, Conejo would just cinch up and not let her do it. And then she was like, oh, I better try the legs again. But I was like, no, you just did that. And it didn't work.
And the best part of all this is at the very end, they got into like a small scuffle.
I saw that.
And then apparently they said Baez told Conejo that she was going to follow her home.
I heard that. Well, she like shouted it. It wasn't even quiet. Like, holy shit.
And I'm like, and then I think Jay was like, yep, she just lost her job right there in her debut. Because you can't go threaten to follow somebody home after the fight. Right. I was like, it was a good fight for Conejo. She had her beat. Like, you couldn't find a way to reverse those throws and the locks. She should have taken a week
of judo. Should have taken a week of judo. She would have been fine.
Yeah. No, and then at the end, she did good. At the end, she started to get it like standing up, and then that's where she was having good shots with taking strikes here and there. But by that time, it was already over. Yeah, Conejo knew it. She was just buying her time for the last couple minutes. It ended. Conejo got the win, and she gets the win, the debut. And I think that must have been one of the first times I've seen where you had two people debut.
Yeah, and that on was weird, right?
And on a main card, because Baze was supposed to fight somebody else. And then her opponent was pulled out, and then that's when Conejo came in. But good for Conejo.
Wasn't the story there like Baez came in via the Contender Series, and then Conejo just came up the long way, and then they just were like, "Fuck it, we need a fight on this card." They just put them together. Is that what happened?
Yeah, but hey, I thought this was the best fight in the card just because of the judo throws. So.
It was pretty entertaining. It was Oh god.
And we got Jay coming in. It was like a WWE match waiting for one person to throw the other against the ropes. Minus that.
So the end was pretty much exactly like a WWE fight where they leave the ring flipping each other off. That was very like fashion.
Cutting promos.
Oh man. But that was one of the funnier fights on the card for sure.
Yep, but to move on to the co-main event of the evening, which was pretty nice for one guy, we had a welterweight matchup where we saw Max Griffin defeat Song Kanan by first round knockout. What did you take from this?
Oh man, he just finished him off. It was a pretty solid victory for Griffin. I remember kind of watching it and thinking, I forget if they were both kind of a little antsy at first, or maybe it was Griffin who was a little bit antsy, because Song, I think, is the bigger fighter, like just in terms of height. But he's also pretty strong. That's a muscled guy right there. So definitely a power puncher. But no, after the first round, he kind of got in about 30 seconds or so. Griffin, got more comfortable. He found his rhythm and started landing those big shots. And it was just a matter of time until he landed that solid hook right there, right around the chin, neck area. Man, just knocked him the hell out. He was knocked out too. He was like laying on the canvas for probably a solid minute and a half while Griffin was over there, like talking to all the people. The medic comes in, and meanwhile, Song's still face down on the mat, and they're like, "Is he all right? We should probably get someone in there to check on that guy." Like, holy shit. But no, it was definitely a great showing for Griffin. What's interesting is I kind of want to see how he does in the welterweight division, but like the top 5 is pretty stacked. The bottom 10 is even getting pretty stacked. So it's like, I wonder where to put him, because I mean, I guess Robbie Lawler is kind of the gatekeeper there. You know what I mean? So maybe put him there. I don't know how he'll do against Lawler. I haven't seen Lawler fight in years. I remember Lawler from like back in the day, but I think if he went up against someone like Bilal Muhammad, I think Muhammad would have him beat. Like a Neil Magny, same story. Even a Vicente Luque, same story. But I mean, it's like he has the skill to have some upward mobility. I just don't know where he would go, because that division is getting pretty dense with really good fighters. And he's good. He's just not as good as the rest of everybody in that division. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we got my boy Daddy Taro chiming in. He said, "Insight here.
Yo,
Max old school Griffin, lights out."
Yep.
Jay said, and somehow he's 5-7 in the UFC. He's lucky to have a job. Would have been cut if he lost, no doubt. And then somehow he keeps coming back. I think one of the things in this fight that stood out with him, just like he said with his record, was he came out lights blazing. Like, he came out quick. He wasn't waiting. He wasn't being like taking his time. Then he has to say Griffin outside gatekeeper, not the rear gates, like the gate outside to get to the rear gate.
I think if he tries to knock on the real gate, he's not going to be able to get in, is my point. Unfortunately.
But it came right in right away, pretty quickly. Came the fight, and then he was laying some good shots early. Yeah, and then he started to take his time right afterwards. I think he wanted to get out the gate right away. I think that was his game plan all along because Sung's nickname is the assassin. But after this fight, it's like, is he really the assassin? Because he got assassinated in this fight. Because it was that bad. Like, he took a shot, and then it was like, boom, he was done. Took a shot, fell down, took another shot. Yeah. Like, it's over. Like, that's why
he was knocked out on the first one, too. The only way that could have been worse was with, like, a Steven Seagal style shitting of your pants. That's the only way that could have been worse. Like, oh, boy.
But he came out, like, right away and just inserted himself. He knew that he needed the win. Got the win. And now, just like he said, he's lucky to still have his job. And he inserted that with this quick knockout. That's why I thought this was he was the fighter of the night to me, like with the knockout, because everybody expected him to lose. I said he was going to win. And like, I predicted he was going to win just for the fact that everybody was going to ride Kanan with his power and his striking, and I thought he was going to come in and grapple and get Kanan down. But fuck, he did the complete opposite. He was like, I'm going to stand with him just like just like people expect me not to do. And I'm going to knock him out. And that's what he did. And then, of course, I posted the thing on Instagram, the little picture of our preview, and he comments on the thing, fire. So he's all up in his high horse now, which, hey, after that win, I'd be on my high horse for like a week.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see where he goes from here, and then see how he keeps adapting, what he does now to adapt to his next opponent. Like, because this was a nice kind of, I don't want to say deception, but we're not used to seeing him do this, where he jumps out right away and then boom, attacks somebody. I think he just did that for this fight, but I think if he could incorporate that in the future, it'll bode well for him. Like, just should have good showings, because
see, that's the thing. This was an exciting fight, but I feel like this is a fighter with an expiration date. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so far he can go, even if he works really, really hard. I mean, it's like Jay said, he's like kind of right at the cusp to where if he goes on a losing streak again, he's gonna get cut. But at the same time, it's like, well, who can he beat? Like, whose spot can he take? It's like, I don't see it. I don't see it. So, fighter with an expiration date.
We got him saying, New Jersey means great. I'm not sure why that one hammer comes up. It's all good. Sup, OG. What's up, Jay? Hey, that's what I want to see. Some chat in the chat for the recap. There you go. Right there. But it was a good showing for him. I'm intrigued to see where he goes next with now, because I think rankings-wise, he was definitely not in the top 10. He might have been lucky to be in the top 20.
Yeah, he's not here in the top 15, so I don't even know where he's at. He's somewhere in the bottom.
So he's working his way back up to relevancy. Like, he walked into the co-main event because of two postponements, and hey, he took advantage of it. He made a good $50K just taking advantage of his fight. And that's what you got to do. But to move on to the main event, which was a disappointment all in itself, we had a middleweight matchup between two top 10 contenders, where Derek Brunson defeated Kevin Holland by unanimous decision, where a few judges had it, I believe it was 50-45, and then a couple had it 49-45, and then one had 49-46. What did you take from this main event?
I mean, it's hard to make a case where Kevin Holland even really won. I can't remember a round that I thought, oh, Kevin Holland had that round. You know what I mean? Maybe the second round, I feel like he did a little better. But the problem here, at the end of the day, Derek Brunson showed up to fight. Kevin Holland didn't. Like that's pretty much what it was. Is Derek Brunson was like, all right, I'm here to fight. Let's go to work. And he had a strategy. He executed the strategy. And then Kevin Holland was just, he must have like either diagnosed or undiagnosed ADHD because he could not stop talking. He even wasted the time of his corner people that one time where he was like ignoring what they were saying and just talking to Khabib Nurmagomedov over there in the stands, like telling him jokes. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You're losing. Listen to your corner people. They're trying to help you. Don't tell jokes. The fuck. And it was just like Michael Bisping said. It was like, it's fine if you want to like tell jokes and be a showman or whatever, but nobody cares if you're losing fights. You know what I mean? And this was a night where Kevin Holland just wasn't on. He wasn't on his game. And normally he's very, very good. I like Kevin Holland. I think he's one of the more unorthodox strikers in his division. And, with the right attitude, he could go pretty far. Now, I don't know if he's ready to take on like a caliber fighter like Adesanya or even Whitaker. I think he'd have a lot of trouble. But, I mean, like I said, he had like one good round. Yeah, I see in chat, second round. That's what I thought. Like, I thought he did okay in the second round as well. But the rest of the fight, it was just basically Brunson getting in close, using his wrestling, taking him to the floor, and then just dominating him because down there, he just didn't have any answers. But the whole time he was like that, just like during the stand-up when he should have been concentrating on volume and getting in those power shots to wear Brunson down, he was talking to Khabib. He was like, tell me when the shots are coming, brother. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, there's a time and place, man. In the middle of the fucking ring fight at the main event of this card is not the time. Like, oh boy. Oh man. But I mean, I don't know. It's like Kevin Holland, he's got these bright prospects, but if he can't like learn when to turn it on, I think that's going to be a big problem going forward. Because remember, they were saying like Brunson was like the gatekeeper of the top 10. They kept throwing him these up and coming guys just to see how they do. And Brunson's like, all right, this is the last one. When I whoop his ass, I want like a top 5 fight. And he did it. He did really well. He focused.
They're discussing him versus Paulo Costa now.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. Honestly, I don't know who would do well there. I think because the thing Brunson did in this fight that really put him over the top, because Kevin Holland was the better striker. When it was on the feet, Kevin Holland was getting the better end of those exchanges. So what he did is he used his wrestling, forced it into a guard situation where he could just take his time. And if you were watching the stats on the app, he was just kind of racking them up right there on the ground where Kevin Holland couldn't move. He couldn't do very much at all. He'd start throwing in punches. He'd try to incorporate some elbows when he could. And Kevin Holland was just out of answers. I feel like if he was more focused, more in the moment, more on his game, he would have had a better and easier time keeping it on the feet where he was successful against Brunson, like in the second round when he staggered him. But he couldn't maintain that level of performance for whatever reason. And I think a big part of that is because he was spending too much time and too much energy thinking of jokes. And I mean, you can say what you want about having to be a showman to stay in this business. I get it. Like, people don't want to watch boring fighters, but they also don't want to watch fighters who lose all the time. So you kind of have to balance the two things, you know?
They actually released today the footage of what Khabib was saying back to him. They have a video of Khabib, and it shows Holland in the thing in the octagon looking at him, and it shows Khabib, pay attention, fight. It was like, get on your back, get off of ground. Like, he was just saying different things at each round lineup. Like, it was funny. It was funny how they were doing that. But I felt like he could have had this easily, even with how he was doing. By round 2.5, Derek Brunson was done. He was tired.
He was exhausted.
He had almost nothing left in him to strike. But the problem was Derek Holland was so easy to take down. He would just and the reason he was so easy to take down was because of his own mistakes he was making. He was being erratic. He was just going all over the place, just throwing backhands, this and that. And he must have been greased up, because how many times did he slip? Like 5 times he slipped.
Right.
And as he was getting back up, that's when Brunson would just take him down. He'd be like, oh, he's slipping. Let me take him down so I can lay on him for 4 minutes, because that's all I got to do. He controlled each of the first 4 rounds by
It was like
total.
13 minutes of total ground control, something crazy like that.
It was crazy because he didn't have to get up,
Yeah.
and then at times Holland was like connected on him. Like in the 5th round, that one shot that he gave Brunson, I was like, oh, he's done now. But
oh yeah, it looked like it was almost the end there. I remember that.
Brunson recovered and then took him down again. I'm like, dude, you got to do something to get back up. All this guy's doing is laying and praying. That's all he's doing, because that's all he had to do, because every time something happened, he would just get him down. And I will say it was good to see Holland take Brunson down, because that was the very first time that Derek Brunson was ever taken down. That was the first time. And then it was a good sign for Holland, but Holland needs to go back to the drawing board and work on his takedown defense, because that's his only thing that he needs to work on, is that. And then like focus more, listen to your coaches, listen to the crew. That's why you bring your coaches there. You bring them there to coach you, not for you to go over to Khabib and be like, "Hey, Khabib, what do I need to do? I'm not going to trust my coaches. I'm going to listen to you because you're right there."
Well, even when he started listening to his coaches, it was too little, too late. Like they were telling him, "You got to do this, you got to do that." And he's like, "I hear you. That's a really hard thing for me to do right now." He couldn't do it. It was like, well, if you had listened in round 1 and then going into round 2, you wouldn't be in this mess right now.
So now he has to go, like I said, he has to go back to the drawing board, work on the takedown defense, because that's really the only thing that he has, and then kind of fix your posture.
I'd say his clinch work needs a little work, because that's where Brunson was getting a lot of his takedowns from. He'd force a clinch, and then it was over after that.
Yeah.
So I think if he works, that clinch work and the takedown defense, I agree.
To work on all that, and then to be patient. Like he was so erratic in that octagon that he forced mistakes out of his own self.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the slipping, like you can't slip 5 times and expect to win a fight. Like literally, I'm looking at him. I'm like, there's no way that you're falling that much just because you're sweating. Like, because then it'd be like you'd be able to get out of the clinch and this and that easily because all the sweat. But no, it was because of his moving. But we got some comments right here, a bunch to go down. That Holland has no TD takedown defense.
Yep.
Doesn't know how to get up.
He really doesn't. When he gets down there, he has no answers at all. He can't even really problem solve.
Can't fix technique in between rounds.
That's true.
And then this was to the 2nd round. He dropped Brunson and had more strikes. I gave him a second. He said, nah. Then he said, where is it? Wildness. Hold on. There's a bunch of comments. I just scrolled. It was controlled like me versus my Yorkie. Just because my Yorkie tries and may land a few, I'm still in control until he got wild.
Right.
Holland needed to jab and move and stay on feet. Every time he threw wild, he got taken down. Yeah, he needed to keep it on the feet and then just pick and choose. That's all you had to do, and not lose by being controlled.
Right.
Lose by being controlled is the worst kind of guy to watch.
Yeah.
Wildness. Stay on your feet. His advantage was on the feet, and he couldn't. Only good thing for Holland was he didn't take any damage, which is right. You can't take damage when all you're doing is getting taken down and laid on.
Right.
That's only positive. We should ask Devontae Wilder. And then Jay said, stay at 185. 170 is for wrestlers that could ragdoll him worse than middleweight.
Yeah.
And then about slipping. But I cold-heartedly agree with all those statements right there. Like, and like he has to, if he's going to stay there, he has to fix everything. Because if he's facing a guy like Whitaker up top there, there's
no way.
There's no way.
No way.
Like he can stand with him, but if you saw a fight like Whitaker and Cannonier, where Cannonier stands up well, but all Whitaker did was, I'm going to take him down. I'm going to pick and choose where I hit him from, and I'm just going to take him down. And that's what he did. and he won that when Cannonier was on a win streak. He was on a high after beating Hermanson, and then he controlled that. He's not being a guy like him. He's not like Costa. That'll be tough for him.
Yeah, I was gonna say Costa's a pretty powerful striker for not really being a striker. He's more of a grappler, of course. Brazilian guys, a lot of them come out of the grappling backgrounds. Yeah. But I mean, he would have very few answers there. You know what I mean? Break his arm with the kick. He would have trouble with the hands. Then going to the floor, he's just done.
I'm surprised we didn't see that much kicks from Holland. I was expecting to see a couple just to use that length that he had to like kick him in the feet, try and put some pressure on Brunson's feet so he can't take him down. Just pick and choose kicks in between the thigh, because that would keep Brunson at bay. Brunson would be like, "Oh, I might want to stay a distance because every time he kicks me, it's going to hurt."
Well, I mean, just throwing in some teeps, throwing in some knees in those clinch situations would have gone a long, long way, but none of that happened. So
he said he better hope his coaches stay with him. Every coach I heard this week said they wouldn't coach him.
I'm sure he was just ignoring them. Like, why would you stay with the guy who doesn't listen to you? Like, that's your job.
And then he went on, I think, radio or live today and said that he's going to keep on talking. That's who he is. You can talk all you want,
that's fine.
but go listen to your coaches and like adjust, because you didn't adjust, and that's why he lost. And then and there's no talks of you and Adesanya, because you that was your top 10 matchup and you lost.
There's no way he would do. He would not do well. Even though Adesanya, fair enough, he doesn't really have very many ground options. That's what we saw with the Jovic fight. Is once it goes to the ground, Adesanya starts to run out of answers. But there's no way he can stand with Adesanya, especially with him telling jokes the whole time. Oh fuck! Like if you're going up against Adesanya, you gotta be focused. You gotta be in the moment. You're like, all right, fuck, I'm going up against a guy whose kickboxing record was something crazy like 95-5. Like you can't be half in the fight and then half thinking of the next cool zinger you're gonna say. Like you got to be 100% in that fight.
So where do you see Kevin Holland next? Who do you see him fighting?
I mean, that's a tough one, because here's the thing. Derek Brunson was sort of the gatekeeper for Kevin Holland to get into the top 5, right? Because right now, the next guy we could possibly look at would be like a Kevin Gastelum or something like that. But Kevin Gastelum's already slated to fight. He's taken in the slack for Costa, isn't he, for the Whitaker fight?
Yes, they're fighting in a couple of weeks.
That's so.
So I'm looking right now. Kevin Holland is still at number 10. You got Uriah Hall.
Updated things, have they? They haven't updated the rankings, or I don't know.
No, they usually update him on Tuesday. But you got Uriah Hall, who's 9. He's facing number 11, Weidman. Mm-hmm. They just announced that Edmund Shazbazin is fighting.
Shazbazin.
Who's he fighting? They just announced that he's fighting somebody in the top 10.
I'm not sure. That's a fun last name, Shazbazin. Is that Russian or what is that? Hold on, let me see. Shazbazin. Oh, my computer keyboard's turned off. Shazbazin.
Yeah, on. They just announced it yesterday. And I'll pull it up. He's fighting Hermanson.
Okay, I was looking.
So he is 12 fighting number 6th ranked Hermanson.
Okay.
Then you got Gastelum fighting Whitaker. You got, of course, you got Vettori fighting Till.
That's the other one, yeah.
So the only guys that you got left are number 3 ranked Cannonier, which I don't see happening.
Oh hell no, he wouldn't do well against Cannonier. No. Absolutely not.
And then you got Omari Akhmedov, who's ranked number 13. Those are the only 2 guys who aren't booked right now.
Yeah.
Well, other than Adesanya, but Adesanya, that's not happening.
No, there's no way. He wouldn't even want that fight at this point. But what about is Uriah Hall doing anything right now, or?
He's booked right now, I believe, with Chris Weidman. Yeah,
you did say that.
Because they were supposed to fight, and then they pushed it back to the end of April. So they are booked right now. So that leaves Akhmedov, Brad Tavares, and then that's it because Sean Strickland is booked already for a fight. So he is very limited unless Cannonier is like, oh, I'll take that fight just so I can get a fight in, and I'll just give me Holland. That way I'm not sitting so long because he's sitting there at number 3. And he's going to have to wait until he gets a matchup. So I could see Cannonier taking that just so that he can get active.
Sure,
but, we got Shabazian.
Yeah. I liked it the way
Tavares,
you said it.
Yeah, Tavares. Yes. Tavares is the perfect fight. I could see that one. I can see that. Like
That's the thing. Like I was thinking about maybe like matching down, but I think Kevin Holland. Hopefully he learns something from this, and going forward he'll improve his game and be more focused and be more present. So I would want to see like a match up to maybe give him some momentum, but versus match down where like if he loses, like he has nothing to gain if he wins. You know what I mean? Like a match down, you just stay where you're at. And unfortunately, it might be the case that has to happen because there's nobody else really for him to fight. If he goes against Cannonier and he loses, then he just stays where he's at. But if he wins, I mean, he could move up. But it's unlikely he would win that fight. But I mean, maybe I think it would probably be a good skill matchup, but it wouldn't really give Kevin Holland any momentum at this point. Is kind of the one thing I'm like, but it might be the best matchup they've got considering how locked up everything is.
And then maybe Cannonier is like, "Ooh, if I fight Kevin Holland, that's a name."
Exactly.
That's a name where if I win, maybe they're like, "Oh, you just beat Kevin Holland, so it'll look good for you, even though you're fighting a guy that's at 10 right now." Like, I don't think he'll move back. I think he might just stay at 10. To be honest, I don't think they're moving back because he was fighting a guy above him so it's he'll probably stay the same. And then for like I said with Cannonier, it's just he hasn't fought since that loss to Whitaker and everybody else is booked, so he's either going to have to wait longer because all these fights are happening in April and then the beginning of May, or he can be like, okay, Holland didn't really take any damage, he just got taken down, maybe we can get a fight booked for middle of May, beginning of June. Us two. That way, that gives me a fight, so I'm not waiting 4 months until my next fight. Like because right now he's sitting at 3. Likely the winner of this Whitaker and Gastelum fight will get Adesanya. So does he really want to wait to get the loser of this fight in April, or does he want to get a fight under his belt to get in the winners column first?
Right.
And then
I think that matchup would really only serve Cannonier. I think it would be a confidence boost if he won, but then like, what's the payoff for Holland? Because he's already going into a fight where
it's a top 3 guy.
Stacked. Yeah, it's top 3, but I mean, the deck is so stacked against him. It's like, it's probably going to be another, Brunson style loss where it's like, well, now there was all this hype a little while ago, and now he's sitting on 2-loss streak. And now, with a 2-loss streak, Dana White might be thinking of getting his ass out of there. Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely a more attractive proposition for Cannonier, I think. I think Kevin Holland might go for it just because, he likes to fight regularly. He had like 5 fights in 7 months in 2020, and he wanted to keep that momentum going. But, I mean, if he can't make some adjustments, there's no way he's going to win a Cannonier fight. I mean, I think it's definitely a more attractive proposition for Cannonier than it can be for Holland. I feel like he has more to lose.
Yeah, everybody that's watching it, if you're watching later on, definitely send us a comment on here where you think who you think's Kevin Holland's going to fight next. Shoot us a comment after you watch this. We'll get back to you. But that's what we think is going to happen. We are thinking likely either Cannonier or, like Jay said, I think Brad Tavares would be a perfect one right there at 12. He's right there at 12. It's a little down, but he can't be too picky knowing that he lost that top 10 matchup that he just had.
I mean, maybe that's what he needs to gain some momentum again, kind of shake the rust off, have someone who maybe is a little bit more, I guess. Because, I mean, Brunson had the experience and he had the attribute that Holland didn't have, and that's where he didn't have any answers. But maybe with the Brad Tavares, he could keep it in that striking range and get back in his groove. Maybe lay off the jokes while he's doing it, and use it as a learning experience. So it might be a good springboard match.
Yep. And then transition from the fight recap to a little bit of news that we got. We were thrusted with a bunch of news over the past few days, which was pretty nice. I had to do a little bit of recon and then posting like all within an hour. I had like 5 things to post, but the first thing was Khabib is officially retired. I was supposed to put retired, but I put retires. It is what it is. But it came out right there that he retired, and he had one last dinner with Dana White right before the fight card, and then he reiterated that he wasn't coming back, that he was retired, that he had nothing left to prove, and Dana White took him for his word for this time and announced that he's officially retiring, and then he was vacating the title. Yeah. What did you take from this?
I mean, he's got a point. I think the main challenge to his legacy was Adesanya, and then he got handed his first loss from Jovic. So after that, even John Jones is 26-1. So I mean, nobody has a perfect record besides him right now. So I think he's right. He hasn't had a loss. He's just using Dana for a bunch of free dinner.
Yeah.
Yup. Shoot, I'd do that. He's from Kazakhstan, Russia. I can't imagine the cuisine over there is very good. He's probably loving it over here. You know what I mean? But no, I think he's right. Because like when you look at the men's pound for pound top rank, like best fighters ever, he's up there. He's up there by a large margin. I think the closest person who can touch that record is John Jones. But like I said, John Jones even has one loss. Below that, you got Kamaru Usman. He's got a couple of losses. Stipe's got a few losses. All the way down, nobody has a perfect record. And I think it's going to be a while until we see someone with that like spotless record like Khabib has. So I think he's safe to retire now. I mean, it's probably going to be 5-6 years before we see someone has a flawless record. Even his protege, Makhachev, has a few losses. I think he's got like 2, maybe 3, something like that. Yes. Not a lot, but I think we're not going to see like a perfect fighter for a while. So if he's having him wait around and keep a hold of bear fighting. I don't want to say it. The Bears win every time, by the way, spoilers.
Yes.
But no, I think if he sat around and just kept that belt and held up the division, then it wouldn't really serve in the long term. It would just be what's happening right now, just for however long he wanted to sit on that belt. I think he needs to relinquish the title, put it up for grabs. Like a Poirier has a shot at it, Oliveira has a shot at it, Gaethje, Chandler, Ferguson. If he make some changes, he could have a shot at it. But I mean, that's what everybody's waiting on is Khabib coming back or is he not? So I think this would be a good time for him to just go, I had my time. Nobody's going to touch my record for a long time. And by the time someone does come around who also has a spotless record, he's probably going to be too old to compete. You know what I mean? He'll have aged out and he won't have practiced for like 7 years or something like that. So I think, he had a good legacy. Go ahead and just leave it the way it is and go kick the soccer ball around or play chess or whatever retire activities he wants to do because he's fine now.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't understand was back in October and November when he was like, was it then when he retired and then he said, I'll come back if somebody impresses me. Back in January. And then what happened? They talked about on MMA Junkie the other day. They're like, well, Poirier knocked out McGregor in a nice fashion, and then Michael Chandler debuted and destroyed Dan Hooker in that co-main event. And you said, if somebody impresses me, I would entertain coming back. Did those not entertain him? Because those were entertaining to me.
I mean, they were entertaining, but I feel like to come out of retirement, because again, that's like a whole family thing he's got attached to that as well. To come out of retirement, I feel like in his mind, it would need to be someone with a spotless record, like someone who could actually unseat him from that number 1 position. Because right now, like I said, nobody fits the bill. It'll be a while.
But my rebuttal is he did beat Poirier, but
Mhm.
Michael Chandler, that was his first fight in the UFC. He had a great career in Bellator. He comes over here. He fights a guy in Dan Hooker who is known for being hard to knock out. He's always a tough matchup, and he destroyed him.
Yeah.
Just like you said, there's always a guy fighting another guy. It's always a matchup thing. You can beat a guy, and then the next guy, say he fought the same guy and
Right.
struggle against him.
Yeah.
It's all about matchups, and I feel like Chandler posed a great matchup for him, just because he has some similar capabilities. He doesn't have the sambo, but he has a
Right.
big wrestling background
Sure.
that can make it a good fight because he's good on the ground as well.
Mhm.
And then I like his fight camp that he's in, where he trains with guys like Gilbert Burns, Herbert Burns,
Right.
and whatnot. And then I forget who else he trains with, like that would have been a perfect thing. You get a guy that he hasn't fought yet, that just came in, just destroyed a mainstay in like right there at that top 5 spot. He's at 5, and then you plug him in. You get a fight right there. Khabib wins. He moves to 30-0, and then he hits that mark that everybody wants.
Right.
But if he truly was going to stay retired, don't say I'm going to entertain anything if it comes and he sees something good, because we saw some good action there. That would be like, oh wow, I just saw that. I can entertain this matchup. He should have just said,
I think
I'm
part
retired.
of that was probably like Dana White was offering him some incentives, and he was like considering it, like if the money's right. Because I mean, with the Michael Chandler thing, he's one fight in the UFC, and I mean we've had guys who were very successful in like Bellator, ONE FC, and stuff like that, who had a great debut, and then like down the road their career just kind of it winded down. So it's yet to be seen if that's the case with Michael Chandler. I think he's going to do well. Is he going to do flawlessly like Khabib Nurmagomedov? That's hard to tell. You know what I mean? I think he's going to do. He's probably going to go pretty far. But I think
it could be like Dana Cormier, where he came over from Strikeforce,
right,
and then he just came out of nowhere and then just feasted on 2 divisions.
So I mean, it might have been too early, I think, for Khabib to jump on that. And maybe the offer wasn't right too. There's always that, the money. So I think it was a combination of the two. Whereas maybe if Michael Chandler had been in for like 5-10 fights and he had, had a winning streak going and the money incentives were right, I think Khabib would have considered coming back. But
to jump from that, because he vacated the title, the 2 things came out from that. First is Luke Rockhold came out and said that he is entertaining, making a comeback, and that he shed light that Khabib has offered to be his coach.
Oh, interesting.
And Luke said that Khabib is looking to be coach of the year.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably smart for him, because it's kind of like the Anderson Silva thing, where like if he had retired when he was like winning, like after the first Weidman fight or whichever one where he broke his leg, if he had retired then, he would have been able to just kick back, open up a series of schools, paste his name on the front, charge like $300 a month, sit pretty on the profits for the rest of his life. I think that's probably the model that Khabib's going with, especially since he's so involved with the development of MMA in Kazakhstan and in Russia in general. He's like really fostering the growth of that industry over there. So he stands to make a ton of money, but if he can also do like consulting coaching for like other professional fighters, oh dude, he's never going to have to worry about money. Like his grandkids will never have to work a day in their life. He's going to make so much money doing that. So it definitely would be in his best interest to start up that little side business.
It'll give him something to do. He could still make money in the U.S. And it's good for Luke Rockhold. It gives Luke Rockhold a guy to brush up on his game and then learn something new in retrospect, because he's not old. it would be a right move for him to get somebody like that to like, boom, I can learn a lot from this guy. I can pick up a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Just like it reminds me of GSP. Like even though GSP was great, he brought in Freddie Roach to actually train him and to help him with his striking, his boxing and striking. And then Freddie Roach wound up being in his corner. He wound up being one of his corner guys in his fights, and it improved his striking game because he had this guy who works with Manny Pacquiao that's renowned for his coaching in boxing. Boom, you just plant this guy in. He works on just your boxing. Whereas right here, you can get Khabib in, and he could be your wrestling guy. Like you have your striking guy, you have wrestling guy. You can have two, because a lot of guys have 2-3 different coaches that do 2 different things,
right?
And then you can improve yourself. You can be a better version of yourself later on.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see what division he goes to, if he stays in light heavyweight or if he moves back to middleweight, and then how he looks. If Khabib takes up the job of being his coach, that remains to be seen. But I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
I mean, that would be a good springboard if you wanted to like spearhead the, I guess you could say, the transition of Sambo into the States. Because right now, Sambo is still a very kind of obscure martial art here in the States. It's very hard to find a Sambo gym, but with its popularity surging in the UFC, it's only a matter of time. Like I was just watching a video the other day with Sensei Seth and Hard to Hurt, Icy Mike. And they were talking about, this is a bit of an older video, but they were talking about how like the direction that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has taken, and like how, you know, it kind of happened, or it kind of went the way of karate. Like karate big in the 80s, it was like this big explosive thing. And now like everything is karate. There's so much shit flying under the flag of karate. It's lost a lot of its credibility. And they were saying that, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is kind of following suit. So there's starting to be this hole in the market where people are looking for this, like, you know, jiu-jitsu wrestling hybrid, and Sambo fits that hole perfectly. And I think if Khabib is smart, what he'll do is he'll start with Rockhold, and then, you know, train Rockhold, have him be successful in whatever division he goes into. And then now he can bring up a market like, hey, I'm the Sambo guy. And then that can lead to him maybe opening up a school here in the US, making it a chain. And, you know, he can be basically like the Gracies were in the 80s, and then how they grew in the States over time to where they are now. He could be the Gracies of Sambo here in the States. I think it would be a very good idea for him, because he could still be involved and he could make a ton of money, but he doesn't have to necessarily fight anymore. He could just live on the reputation he built, the legacy he built in the ring for all those years. I mean, that's really what you work for as a fighter, is that there's a certain point when you can't fight anymore, but if your legacy can pay you, that's even better.
He said, Jay said he's going back to middleweight, which would be a good thing. Oh, geez, just another middleweight one.
That'd be a good fight. That'd be a solid fight.
Yeah, because the middleweight's getting packed up right now, that top 10. Yeah, and then you can plug him in there. He said some good challenges for some of these guys right now, because he's a little bit older, but he has a lot of that pedigree. And then to add Khabib to his camp would make it even better.
I wonder if Dana White's going to try to pressure to keep him in the light heavyweight division, because right now the middleweights are so stacked that I think comparatively the light heavyweights have like some slots open where they could insert some better fighters. I wonder if once he's training with Khabib, Dana White's like, no, I want you to stay in the light heavyweight and stack that division for me.
Yeah, I don't think he will, because I think Luke Rockhold will be like, I want down to middleweight, because just the cut is it's easier to cut and then fight at a lower weight than to be heavier, and then to try and get these bigger guys than what I am.
Yeah.
But also to go from this, because he's vacating this title. Originally last week when we were on, it was announced that it was going to be Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje.
Yep.
And a matchup, which a great matchup, but then somehow in the next span of like a few days, they're discussing the terms, and then from out of nowhere, after they announced Khabib retiring, it comes out that they were booking Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight title, which just throws everything out of the door. Like I'm like, what happened? What about Poirier?
Right.
But then it was announced that Poirier, I think, rejected the spot, and he wants that third fight with Conor McGregor, which probably will come out. I'm gonna say the first week of June is my guess.
Well, they've got the Olivier Chandler fight scheduled for UFC 262. It's going to be the
May 15th.
Yeah, the big fight. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Poirier saw more money in a third matchup with McGregor and just finish him off, get him out of the rankings, get him out of the way. You know, he can build on his hype as the guy who finished McGregor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that might be more valuable than a title shot. Just right now, he's a young guy, so he's still got a long career left if he plays his cards right. So, I don't know. I can kind of see a situation where the payoffs for setting aside a title shot right now could be beneficial in the long run. Kind of let Chandler fight it out with some of the top 5 guys. That way you can get a little more info. Because right now he's still sort of an unknown quantity as to how he's going to perform in the UFC, that level of competition. So let him go through a few top 5 guys. Let him go through Olivier. Maybe let him try out with Gaethje like they were planning. Maybe a Tony Ferguson or whatever. Get some info on him, how he performs at this level. He made a shit ton of money on that. That's what I was saying. It's probably there was a money incentive there too, for sure. But no, I think he has nothing to lose, everything to gain from putting off this fight. He's got a monetary incentive. He's got an incentive to like see what Chandler can do at this level of competition. It also would kind of move around the rankings, move certain people out of the way. I think make it easier for him to get a beeline for that title shot.
He's marketing that hot sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of time to talk shit, drum up some sales. Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's a good move for him.
A lot of people are making like good points about this. So, like maybe this is showing that maybe behind the scenes, McGregor is saying that he might have only one fight left in him before like he steps aside for good. Like say he loses this, McGregor probably says he retires because of everything that he's doing. So Poirier is like,
either that or Dana White eats his ass into the Rand Corp. Yeah, one of the two.
So Poirier is probably like, if I don't take it now and he loses, he might retire, and I don't get a chance to get that third fight where I can make another 7-8 million off of McGregor's name. Like Poirier, he has his name, but McGregor has that cha-ching
star power. Yeah.
He's got that star power, and then he can milk it for what it's worth in this third fight, where he wins the trilogy 2-1, and then he can go into it, and then it's like, you're offering me that championship fight now, just name me number 1 contender.
Yeah.
Or if they don't want to do that, they could just be like, okay, we got Justin Gaethje right there who's not fighting. We'll give you him unless he winds up booking a fight. But I feel like I can see why he did that. He did it. Like he can always go back to the title. Like if he's seeing money now. I think he wants to put money aside because he's not. It's sad to say this, but the McGregor third fight is going to make him more money than the title fight.
Yep.
Just because McGregor has built his name, whereas a guy like Chandler's still working on him. Oliveira doesn't have a name to him. Like I think people were saying if he didn't decline it would have been Poirier Oliveira. I would have been hard pressed to think that they would have done that when they have a guy more established with Michael Chandler, where at least he's established himself with Bellator, to where he would have been a better name for Poirier in a title fight, and then they would have had. Then they could have done like an Oliveira Gaethje, but. It sucks for Justin Gaethje because I was ready for that Gaethje Chandler because it would have been fireworks.
Right.
And now he's kind of stuck. Like, where does he go?
Right.
And I'm thinking, and I'm looking at like the division. It's like I could see him do like a Michael Chiesa or Stephen Thompson. But then I can't help.
Aren't they welterweights?
No, they're light. I mean, yeah. My bad. Wrong division.
I was gonna be like, what? What happened? No. But see, that's the problem. I think
Dos Anjos. I was thinking Dos Anjos, and I said, Yeah,
But that's the problem. He has nowhere to go but down. Like, he can only challenge down at this point. And so, like, it's if he wins, so what? He doesn't go anywhere, you know? He's already he's where he needs to be.
and where I was thinking, a name that pops out. He's not he's at the bottom, but a name that pops out that can kind of makes me think of the whole Belero Muhammad, Leon Edwards thing is Islam Makhachev.
That'd be an interesting matchup.
Him against Justin Gaethje, where Gaethje does have that wrestling background, but he did have trouble with the Khabib's sambo and pressure on. He did have like problems with that. So do they entertain that, or do they give him like an easy, like, to me it's easy, like Rafael Dos Anjos matchup, because they're not going to give him Dan Hooker, because that's just that's not fair to Gaethje. He needs a fight where it's worthy of him, and the one guy that's not in the bottom half of that top 10 that sheds like a good matchup for him, if it's going to be behind him, is Islam. That's the one guy that presents a good matchup for him, and that would maybe have him go, I could entertain this. I might have to think about it, because he's at 10 or 11 right now, but I'm definitely entertaining it because of the guy's potential with what he's done, and then of course Habib's in his camp, so.
Yeah, but I think the other part of this puzzle is Dana White, I think, is seeing money signs right now. The fact that lightweight title has been vacated means, like, he's sitting in his office going like, all right, how many ways can I make money off of this? You know what I mean? I think he's probably making matchups based on profit, not so much based on skill at this point, because whenever there's a big clamor for the title like this, you have a bunch of dynamite matchups that everybody wants to see, because everybody wants to see who's going to win that scramble to the top. So I think right now he's probably thinking, all right, if I pair like an Olivier with Chandler, and then, you know, take the winner of those guys, put them up against a Poirier or a Gaethje, you know, we can make a lot of money just with like the top 4 spots right now. There's a lot of dynamite matchups that are going to have big payoffs. Whereas, like, honestly, I would like to see kind of like an Islam Makhachev versus even like maybe the winner or the loser of Olivier Chandler, kind of give him an opportunity to get in that top 5 spot, especially with like either one of those guys would be very interesting to watch, because Olivier's got the very advanced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a 3rd degree black belt. Not too many of those in the UFC. And then you got Michael Chandler, a well-established wrestler, already made his mark in Bellator, where Makhachev, he's the hot up-and-comer. He's the baby, Khabib. And it would be interesting to see how he problem solves against these guys, especially Olivier, with the very advanced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and can his sambo hang and be able to deal with that. But I don't think Dana White would entertain that at this point, because I think he's going to try to mix and match those top 4 as much as he can to get as much money out of it before someone finally gets. Right now,
Poirier's ranked 1, and luckily he's matched up with ranked 6 McGregor. Then let's go out there. Oliveira is 3. He's going to be fighting Chandler. That's 4.
Yep.
5 is Ferguson, and he's fighting number 9, Benio Dariush. 7 and 8 is Dos Anjos and Hooker. They're not even they're not booked yet, but likely they're floating. Likely Gaethje's not going to entertain either of those. There will be no point for him to.
Right.
10 is Paul Felder. He just lost to Dos Anjos. So, and he's spending more time on the commentary, so that's not a feasible option. And then number 11 is Islam Makhachev. So the only 2 guys that Gaethje would probably entertain is Islam at 11, just because of his name, or maybe wait. You know, like, because
what he's going to end up doing is he's going to be forced to wait around for a while. Maybe see the winner of Olivier Chandler, and then maybe they get Gaethje. Although I think in Dana White's mind, probably the winner gets Poirier, but I don't know.
Yeah, but like it's either he waits or he takes a matchup down. Like, I look at the Khabib proteges. You got Makhachev. He's ranked number 11 right now, and then you got Magomed, who in that division is ranked number, I think, 9 or 10.
Magomed.
Ankalev.
Ankalaev is he's a light heavyweight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a Khabib protege.
Oh, you're right. That's okay. I thought you were saying they're in the same division. I was like, what?
No. That'd be crazy. But
right?
He's a protege of Khabib, where he trains with him too. His two proteges are in the top 10 now, or right outside the top 10. So they're about to make their move up and to these good fights shown. And then even Peter Yan, he's in that same camp. He's just a different style fighter. He must be on the other side of that gym.
Well, I mean, he came up very early on in his career doing boxing, so they would have been in different circles. But then as he got, because really, I think it's two parts. One, Khabib has gotten way more involved in Russian mixed martial arts. Like over there, he's basically like building an empire in the Russian martial arts arena, to where he's like pretty much anybody coming out of Russia from like here forward probably going to be at least somewhat loosely related to Khabib in his training camp, because he's spreading out so far. And who was that? Shakarova was one of the people he was working with, and his team was working with her. So I mean, I think that's probably what happened, is as he spread his influence, Peter Yan, the boxer, even got kind of wrapped up in that, even though he's from a totally different background.
Like Peter Yan, like he used to do a couple classes with Jose Aldo, of course, and before like he fought him, like he did a lot. That was his the one guy and one idol. He took classes with them, and then that's when he moved over to I think the same area as Khabib. But like there's a lot of things that they could do with these. They made a good point on the radio today. They need to Dana White needs to wake up and do these Grand Prix tournaments that Bellator is doing. That would have solved this problem easily. Just take the top 10 or top 8, because it would be easier to do top 8 with like the brackets, or you just do a top 12 just to do top 12.
I mean, and then do a catchweight Grand Prix. You know how much money he'd make on a catchweight Grand Prix? Holy shit! You want to talk about a fascinating fight? Yes. You want to see like a Kamaru Usman fighting Adesanya, or like a Yahovich fighting Stipe? Oh shit, that'd be an amazing matchup. You know? I
was thinking Usman against Peter Yan.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Yeah. I think Yan's a little too small for Usman.
He's small, but
stylistically, that would be a fascinating matchup if they were closer in weight.
Or like a Usman against Islam Makhachev. Because of the styles, but they need to bring back, because they're saying UFC owns the rights to like Pride and whatnot, and that's what they did. They did these tournaments, and they need to bring back the old school with like these tournaments. You do it at big events. Do it Pride style, like I just said. Do it Pride style, where you bring these back. You get these big crowds. They're starting to bring the crowds back where they're doing Jacksonville next month. Right. You go big instead of having these issues where you're like, who do I have here? Who do I have there? Exactly. Just do these tournaments and have that be the deciding factor. If you get to this point, you don't have to do it all the time. This is the perfect way to introduce it back in, because you have all these fighters up top there that you don't know what you do.
Exactly.
You do it the right way. Pit these guys against each other. Be like, boom, 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 boom. Do a bracket. You have it ranked like it is. Like you have Poirier 1, you have Gaethje 2, and then just go down and then have it ranked that way. That way, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You win, you move on. You lose, you're out of it until there's one guy left, and you do it within like a 6 to 8 month span.
Right. And then you talk about like, if you want Khabib back in, it'd be a real hard argument to make that the winner of the Grand Prix in that division, or like a lightweight, welterweight, catchweight Grand Prix, the winner of that division doesn't deserve a shot at Khabib. That'd be a real hard argument for him to make. Like, no, I'm not impressed. And
then he can't say that a guy like Poirier can't say that he's not making money, because he's fighting as long as he is who he says he is, and then he wins those matchups. Yeah. That's 4+ fights in a 6 month span where you're making money.
Yep.
You're making it that way, and then you're getting a title shot at the same time because you just put the winner gets the title, the winner of the tournament gets it. Instead of Bellator, where they do in Bellator, oh, you just get the Bellator Grand Prix belt,
Right?
you know, where you get the title, you know.
So I just thought of this, just as an interesting side note. Is Antonia Shevchenko related to Valentina Shevchenko? Are they related?
Oh, you mean the sisters?
They're sisters. Okay,
Yes.
so this would be pretty cool if they did like a they did like a Grand Prix in the women's flyweight, and then we had like a warrior situation with the two Shevchenko sisters, and then like it goes just like the movie did. They bring someone else in there who's like the what was the Russian guy? What was his name again? It was like Drago or something like that.
Ivan Drago.
No, that was Rocky. What was his name? He was basically the Ivan Drago of that movie. His name was Koba. Koba, that was his name. He was supposed to be like the undefeated Russian guy who's like 1,000,000 pounds heavier. And then the school teacher takes him out with the freaking Kimura lock. Like, that would be kind of cool to see. Just like a real life version of the Warrior movie in the women's flyweight division between the two Shevchenko sisters.
Yeah, they did. They just had a woman where she fought. Shevchenko lost. She had a title shot, and then she came back and fought her sister, and I think she won. Like back to back, she had to fight them back to back.
Yikes.
And then she moved back up, but I don't know how she did. I don't know why I don't know if they're twins or if they're like a year apart. I just know that they're in the same division, which is weird because what's going to happen when say her sister decides to wake up and be good again, you know, and then she moves all the way up to the one spot.
Right?
Are they going to have to fight each other? Like,
yep.
It's gonna be like the Klitschko brothers in boxing, where they're both up there at the top, and then they never fought each other.
Right.
And then they wound up. I think they wound up doing like the one had this boxing association, and then the other had this one because in boxing they had like 4 different associations. So there's like 4 different heavyweight belts. In this they don't. So I don't know. I never got that, but we don't have to worry about it because the other sister isn't as good as Valentina. So
she's like 14 or something. She's way down there. She got some work to do.
Yeah, but we had that, and then we also, right before we get ready to go, we had 2 other fight matchups, which I was actually happy with. I was like, ooh, we had Rob Font is booked to have a fight with Cody Garbrandt, which I didn't expect this. But I said if that Jose Aldo Cody Garbrandt matchup fell through, that for some reason I felt like they were going to give Cody Garbrandt Rob Font because he's there at that 3 spot. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Cannonier, where he's just been sitting there, even though on this side Font has been sitting there after a win, whereas Cannonier's sitting off after a loss.
Right.
And then they also what was the other matchup they announced?
Sandhagen was going against someone, wasn't he? Yeah.
Corey Sandhagen was announced to fight the returning TJ Dillashaw, which I also said was going to happen after the controversy with Sterling and Jan. That was the worst. That was the worst case scenario for Sandhagen was that no contest. Because
requires a follow-up. You know, now those 2 are locked up. You can't do anything with them.
and then for Dana White, he's like, "Oh, this is great." He's like, "I have to do it." He's like, "This is money," and then it gives me excuse to tell Dillashaw that he's not getting a title shot right away, and he has to fight one time to get it, because they're gonna have to do a rematch, and then Dillashaw is gonna have to fight at least once. And what a better way to feed him Corey Sandhagen, who was given the number 1 contendership essentially before that. So it allows Sandhagen to fight one more time. And it's not like he's fighting a nobody. He's fighting TJ Dillashaw, who is a former champion coming back from a 2-year suspension. Right. And then in Dillashaw's side, it's like, oh, I'm not getting it, but at least I'm fighting the guy that was given the number one contender shot. So at least when I win this fight, he can't say no to me after that.
I mean, he's going to get trashed by Peter Yan, but I mean, if he wants to do that, that's fine. He's just going to get his ass beat, but
who, Dillashaw?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know, because I don't know what to expect from Dillashaw right now. I have no idea.
Well, let's assume he's as good as he was before. The division's changed so much. You got some real monsters in the division that weren't there before. And I think one of those monsters is Peter Yan. I think he's going to have a lot of trouble with a guy like Peter Yan. He's going to have trouble, matching power for power. I think between the two of them, Peter Yan's the harder hitter. And then we just saw he's a pretty damn good wrestler. So, like, he's not – if there was someone who is going to out wrestle Peter Yan, it was probably Aljamain Sterling, and Aljamain was struggling for a lot of that fight. I don't think TJ Dillashaw is coming in with like some secret ninja wrestling that's going to take the win. You know what I mean?
Say he did hint at this. Say Cejudo comes back. He said it looks like he's coming back. He didn't say what division though. But say he were to come back, how would Cejudo match up with Yan?
I don't remember too much about Cejudo. I don't remember.
He has a big wrestling background, and then his striking is really good.
It's good. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not just necessarily the power. The thing about Peter Yan is he's a slow starter, but he's actually a very technical striker. He's very good at, baiting people, creating those openings, letting them kind of feed in, because he's a boxer. That's like what you got to do with boxing. You got the one tool, and you just got to get really good at using that one tool. So he's already really good at that, and you start to see in his game, he's starting to mix in the leg kicks, the calf kicks, things like that. Something that Cejudo, back in the day, those weren't as popular. There were some fighters who would throw around the leg kicks, and because Muay Thai was becoming more popular at the time. But unless he's been keeping up with the trends, the minute Peter Yan starts throwing in those heavy calf kicks, I think he's going to be like, fuck, what was that? Oh boy, I wasn't ready for that, And on top of that, he's going to have to deal with not only the power of Peter Yan, but the technical workings, the machinations, where you don't necessarily like you're throwing punches and you're like, oh, I'm ahead, and all of a sudden you're eating like an elbow, like a crazy spinning elbow or something. You're like, where did that come from? And then he's like, all right, well, that's not going to work. Let me wrestle with him. Peter Yan's, wrestling with guys who are proteges of Khabib. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole new breed of fighting now that back then it's apples and oranges, man. Like, once Sambo made its debut and once fighters started figuring out this calf kick thing, it just forever changed the landscape of MMA to where if you're an older fighter trying to come back in, unless you've been keeping up with those trends, man, you're getting dropped into a freaking Shark Tank. You know what I mean?
Well, I do know at least Cejudo has been training, because I interviewed Eric Anders on Thursday, and he said that he trained with Cejudo, and he said he's still training. He's still in the gym, still staying active. And let's not forget that this is a guy who, right before he retired, he took the belt from Demetrius Johnson, who is probably one of the quickest flyweights. Yeah. Like he was the guy that you were saying was the pound for pound guy for the longest time, because of how many times he defended that title. When it came in, and Cejudo came up. It took the second time around. He came up and beat him. Then he went up a weight class and knocked out TJ Dillashaw and took that. And he defended it and beat Dominic Cruz, who is still fighting.
Right. And so I know MMA math doesn't work, and we talked about this earlier. Yeah. But just as a thought experiment, look at where Cruz is now compared to back then. Cruz was a force to be reckoned with back in the day. I remember Cruz because I was thinking about fighting professionally at the time. I was actively working towards it, and the guy I had to beat was Cruz because I was a bantamweight at the time. I was a little dude, but looking at Cruz now versus how he was performing then, and just the overall landscape of the division then versus now, like that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's a totally different animal. Like Cruz isn't bad. He's aged well. I think he's really kind of kept up pretty well. He's only, number 9 right now. And I think he would have a hell of a time climbing that ladder. Like, there's just so many big names right there that he would have to overcome. And then if he gets the title spot, which Peter Yan's going to have in a little bit, he would have a lot of trouble with Peter Yan. So, I mean, coming from that era, like that type of division from way back then, I think even Cejudo coming back, who has all these big names under his belt, the guy who beat Demetrius Johnson, which that's a huge accomplishment. Demetrius was amazing. I remember Demetrius Johnson, but I mean, like I said, the landscape has changed so much. Even if you're still training, experience is key. We just saw that.
Yeah, luckily for him, when he retired, it was only back in March. I know it's March. It's been a year, but luckily it's only been a year because he retired right when they were in Jacksonville, right when the COVID was just starting off. That was the first. Okay. That was the first event where they had it with no fans. It was in Jacksonville before they moved to Apex.
Was that before Peter Yan entered the division or no?
No, Peter Yan was in the division. It was I think it was right before Peter Yan fought. It was a couple months before Yan fought Aldo. It was literally it was 2 or 3 months because
it was kind of an unknown a little bit still at that time.
Because that's when Cejudo beat Dominic Cruz. He retired. He was like, I got this, I'm retiring, I got the money. Here you go. And then the title was vacant, and then that's when they made Yan versus Aldo for the vacant title 2 months later. So even though, yes, it has been a year, it has been that long to where you can say like the landscape has changed dramatically because all that happened was Yan came in, won that, and then that was his only fight before the Sterling one. Right. He's fought once since. So but I think what Cejudo would do is try and move up because where I was leaning up to was he made a comment about being intrigued by coming back and fighting Max Holloway. I don't know if it's at feather. Yeah, I think it's featherweight.
Yeah,
no, bantamweight.
No, it was featherweight. You're right.
Oh yeah, it's featherweight. Where Max Holloway is doing nothing right now. He's sitting right now after destroying Calvin Kattar. So he was like, I'm very entertained by coming back and fighting a guy like Max Holloway. That would be a fight that I'd be so intrigued with matchup wise, and then of course money wise.
That division's a little hungry for fighters. Not as stacked as some of the other ones, so he could make himself a nice little home there.
And he's a guy where he has he did. I don't know like how if a year changes it, but he has the gas tank. Cejudo can last 5 rounds. He's done 3 or 4 of them being a double champion. So he has that pedigree of being able to have the gas tank to last that long. Because with Max Holloway, you need a gas tank of 5 rounds or more because he's going to move. And then he can also, I feel like he can put out like a fight that would intrigue Max Holloway. Like he's a different style of fighter where he's a wrestler, but then he can stand up and trade with Max Holloway. So I'm interested to see if that progresses anywhere or if it's just him being Triple C Master of Gringe where he's just putting the stuff out there just to put it out there to entertain the masses.
Right, keeps baiting the hook, but never actually tosses it in the water.
I want him to be telling the truth. I want him to be. So I'm going to be looking over the next month to see if it's just a smoke and mirrors or if it's the truth. I'm hoping it's the truth because that'd be money. I'd catch that any day, and then because that'll show me how much balls that he has to be able to go from flyweight, win that, to go to bantamweight, win that title, and then be like, you know what? Let me go to featherweight now.
Right.
Boom. And let me try and conquer this now. Because if he can do that, then there's no doubt that Henry Cejudo is pound for pound the man. Because to take 3 different titles in 3 different weight classes, no one's done that, I believe. So,
no.
So I want that to happen. So Max Holloway, tell him that you want him. Tell him you want to fight him.
That'd be an interesting fight. I'd like to see that.
Yep. But that is the news for today. Thanks for everybody for tuning into this UFC on ESPN recap, along with the news that we just went on for the last 30 minutes. It was nice to catch up because we had a lot of news over the weekend. So I just wanted to bring it out there. So be ready to check out on Wednesday or Thursday as we do a UFC 260 preview with the main event being Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight title. There won't be a second title, as you know. We mentioned earlier that Ortega and Volkanovski's getting moved back a bit because of COVID reasons. So the new co-main event right now looks to be Vicente Luque against Tyrone Woodley. But it should still be a pretty decent card. Just with that main event, it's going to be amazing. So check out on Wednesday and Thursday for that. It'll be released off of YouTube. So keep a lookout for that. Follow us on all of our handles on Twitter at CageIQ, on Facebook at CageMyIQSB, and on Instagram at CageMyIQ. And then always live, we're on Twitch at twitch.com/CageMyIQ. And then, like I said before, you can also follow all of Miles Long's stuff on the Laughs and Rec podcast right there on his name. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. He's usually on half the day, just BSing and having fun. So,
oh yeah, this week's gonna be good too. We got to chill wheel stream tomorrow. Talk about whatever comes up, and then Wednesday's a big one. Wednesday we're bringing back on Abigail from the Manic Pixie Weirdo podcast, and we're gonna be doing a political stream where I don't know if you've heard about this, but a little while ago there was like a big panel debate between it was who is that lady? Some like basically a Nazi lady from like Connecticut, and they also got John Doyle, and they got who is that other person? They got Blair White, and then someone else I can't remember off the top of my head. And they're all a bunch of conservatives on the same debate panel, and just watch them attack each other. So we're gonna watch that whole thing and just break it down and all the insanity. I've watched clips of it. I haven't seen the whole thing, but it's pretty crazy. So that's gonna be one to tune in for.
WWE style.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I want to thank her for she's been kind enough to retweet our stuff and then to some of it.
Abigail's awesome, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's great just for doing that. Thank you, Abigail, for supporting us. And then I want to thank our sports group that we are a part of, the Sports Box. For giving us a platform to work on. You can follow the Sports Box, give them all your questions and comments, and everybody will get back to you. We have over 20 podcasts on the platform. I just if you check on the Cage by IQ Facebook page, I just posted the schedule for the week, and we have not one but two MMA podcasts this week. The monthly pay-per-view one, Fighting Words, which we did the preview with a few weeks ago. They're going on this Thursday. Yeah. They're going on. They're awesome. They're going on this Thursday to talk 260. So catch them out Thursday. I believe they're on at 7 or 8. I'm not sure exactly which one, but catch them on here. Send them comments during their stream. They're great guys. It's Bobby and Lou. Check them out. Very knowledgeable. Tell them we sent you to watch. And then me and Lou have a meatball bet to make soon to make up for that no contest.
Oh man, yeah, we are gonna make some meatball bets. I need a meatball sandwich. Damn it, I need a meatball sandwich.
But you can follow the Sports Box on Facebook at Sports Box Show. Follow them on Twitter at Sports Box Show and on Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Subscribe on YouTube and catch all the stuff that you can't catch live on the YouTube channel. And like what you can. We thank you guys so much for the support. It's been great growing this Cage My IQ brand. And we got a lot of stuff coming out, especially next month with Bellator and PFL coming out. And then right before we go, I want to announce that next Wednesday, me and Jay have the honor of interviewing UFC commentator John Anik. Nice. Where he's going to come on for a good 20-30 minutes. He was nice enough to agree to do an interview. He is the man. Like Joe Rogan was the man. Now John Anik is the man. Like when I see him on there, he's the constant professional. Mm-hmm. The way that he calls the fights, like he's just a professional. Like he is a perfectionist when it comes to saying fighters' names. Like he said it on a podcast before. When I am doing my notes, I'm constantly going to the fighters and I'm like, is this how you say your name? Is this how you say his name? He does it like 2-3 times because he wants to be perfect. He wants to make sure that he doesn't mess up their name. And he wants to make it sound right so like he does them justice. So I'm looking forward to picking his brain and then just learning a little bit more about himself. But that is our show. Anything you would like to say before we get going?
Shazbazin. Shazbazin. However you say that. That's a fun-ass name to say. I don't care if I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah.
That's fun to say.
but that is our show. You catch us on Thursday when I release the podcast for the preview. And also catch us every Monday at 8:30 on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And then right when we're done, it'll be transported over to YouTube. But catch out all of our stuff. Catch out the interviews that we have coming up. We got a bunch more coming in. Like and comment on our videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Cage My IQ. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Talk to you guys later.
Deuces. Shazbaz.
Thank you for watching this episode of Cage My IQ on the Sports Box. Please remember to follow us on all of our social media outlets. On Facebook at Sportsbox Show, Twitter at Sportsbox Show, Instagram at The Sportsbox Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our sponsor, Showcase Sports in Hamilton. Showcase Sports for the elite athlete. And also our friends over at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 free points. Thank you for joining us.